Hey there, I'm Ted Cantu, and welcome to the Think Tank. This is day one. I'm going to record this section over because you know what? I recorded the whole thing and we left the sound on, unfortunately. And what ended up happening was it sounded like I was underwater through a good half hour of it. So I don't know if you could hear it. I don't think that's good. I mean, I think we should be able to hear each other, right? And so All right, so here's the deal. It's a 5 day challenge, a 5 day free challenge. Health is wealth. I'm gonna give you a challenge as we go through this. Right now, I want you to get a notebook. I want you to take notes. It doesn't have to be a J.R.R. Tolkien leather-bound special edition notebook with leather strings and enchantment and elvish runes and stuff. Just get a cheap notebook like this, right? Just a cheap. There you go. Just throw it on the ground. Um, cheap notebook that just basically, you can use, but don't lose it because you're gonna have a lot of valuable information in there. I'm gonna give you the outlines on what to do to have an amazing life and be inspired and to do something new with yourself that you may not expect. Subconscious mind and quantum physics is incredible. It's everything. It's and I'm the accidental subconscious mind expert. I got to a place in my life where I was so miserable that I didn't know what to do with myself, and nothing I touched seemed to really uh, give a lot of enjoyment. And I realized I was damaged, severely damaged, and I needed to get that cleaned out because it was there was no other way I could go through another day of that. I have a sneaking suspicion that many of you who are watching this are maybe feeling the same way. The pharmaceutical industry is counting on it. Right now, I don't take any pharmaceuticals. I don't take any drugs. I don't take any prescriptions. So doctors pretty much hate my guts. And you know what? It's not just that, but we're having a hard time getting this message out on social media. We're getting a lot of censorship. We're getting a lot of posts taken down. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, not so much. But you got to realize that with everything that's going on in the world, people want control. They want control. They want monopolies. They want all that stuff. So I went out, got self-published, built this thing called the Think Tank. I'm connecting to people that want to change their lives for the better, and I'm going to show you strategies on how to do just that. So, with that being said, if you want to watch the intro, it's highly advised. I talk about my guests for the 5 day challenge, the free challenge, and health is wealth, is what we say. So, without further ado, I will mention Holly Amato. Randy is a great guy. He's a great filmmaker, Randy Holloway, and Prashant Sapuri, who is teaching meditation and also Sahaj Yoga. Those are my teammates. We're going to launch with that. Now, I've been talking a lot, so just give me a break for a second. I just got to take this coffee and we'll get started. What is the subconscious mind? Um, what is it? It sounds so foreign to a lot of us. Well, the subconscious mind is incredible because it's the glue. It's why you're here. It's why you make the same mistakes. It's why you make your miracles. It's where you live. You run on a limited supply of loops, self-talk, programming, stuff that's been recorded in your mind your whole life. Subconscious mind does not know right from wrong. It just knows it records everything and it plays it back to you. So, for example, when I get into an argument with my mother, she'll say, "Well, you're just like your dad." That's her go-to loop. No matter, it's pretty limited. but she'll do that. And whether she's right or wrong or wants to see things my way or have an intelligent discussion, it goes right back to that. Sometimes, sometimes in life, we just don't want to grow anymore, and we're going to play our loops because we that's what brings us comfort, and that's what makes us gives us certainty, and lets us know that we're right about things. We're not looking to change that or to expand ourselves in any way. And people live their lives like that, and it's almost like being in prison or in jail. And unfortunately, that it can be very limiting. I knew that I wanted to get out of that situation. I knew that I wanted to repave the road when it came to my subconscious mind. I actually wanted to reprogram myself. It took about 30 days, but when it started kicking in, man, I was more interested in that than being an artist. Or in fact, I kind of lost interest in a lot of my earlier ambitions. This became my focus. I was really intrigued with it. I liked the miracles that were popping up. I liked seeing synchronicity. I liked seeing minor shifts turn to major shifts. Started paying attention, and for the first time, I was realizing that our lives don't have to be like a you don't have to be like a Destiny's football. From one miserable experience to another. One horrible job follows another horrible job, follows another horrible relationship, and so on, and so on, and so on. It doesn't have to be a life of unfortunate events. Isn't that's Lemony Snicket, right? Uh, a life of unfortunate events or something. Anyway, you can change it. And so your conscious mind, be careful what you feed it. Your conscious mind is interesting because it's what you look at, what you focus on. And, you know, uh, sometimes called the reticular mind, which can really hold about, I read, I could basically about 20 things. And the deal is that it only holds so many things at one time. So be careful what you fill it with. If you're watching TV, crappy shows like Mafia Housewives, The Housewives of Beverly Hills, Cops, you're watching, seeing people at their absolute worst getting arrested. And or if you go to Twitter, there's so many things now. Clown World. There's something about there's a fight channel on Twitter, and there's a thing there about showing robberies going wrong. People actually get shot. I'm amazed that they actually show this stuff. People get killed on Twitter. So it's like surveillance footage or cop footage. Um, when I wake up in the morning, that's the first thing I see when I wake up in the morning. It it's not funny, but it's true. And people will watch this stuff. Like, okay, what's the next clip going to be like? What's the next most outrageous thing that's going to happen? What else is going to happen? He goes on. Memes are the same way. And you see this a lot in office culture as time wasters. And you fill your mind up with this stuff, which I no longer want to do. I don't want to do any of that stuff. So I actually cut all out. I cleaned up my viewing list on my Twitter because I didn't want to watch any stuff anymore. So music too. Everything's so negative. Most of the subconscious minds and thoughts that come into your I'm sorry, the thoughts that come into your daily life are negative. I think it was like 60% or something. Or you're playing arguments of stuff that happened years ago with this person or that person, and you live like that. I i gotta tell you, it was the weirdest thing. um I was on classmates.com for a while, but I took my profile out of my high school and I moved it to a different high school because it was so depressing. And but some people that I grew up with uh identified with their poor image. And it was really sad to see that because I saw people that were just beaten by life. Their expressions, they were so joyless, and there was no life in their faces, and it was the one of the saddest things I've ever seen. I was so, uh, it bothered me. when you start to identify with a negative situation or a condition or a label that somebody put on you, then you're headed for a really dismal ride. I didn't want to do that, but there's a lot that goes into this kind of conditioning. Um, Let me just kind of explain a little bit where I came from. I'm Ted Cantu. I'm from Muskegon, Michigan, right off the lake. That's where I was born, and it was a good life. Really quiet town. It's a lake town, and people there are pretty simple. They're laid back. A lot of outdoor activities. They're not book people. In fact, there's not that many bookstores over there. There might be maybe one, and that's not even in the city. It's outside the city limits. It's the way it was, and kind of like live for today. They're simple people. I love them, but they're simple, and I don't mean it in a bad way. It's just they're not academic. So a lot of them. Anyway, I my mother got remarried, and she took us out to Connecticut when I was in high school. Oh, I'm sorry, no, grade school, like seventh grade, and it was a big culture shock because the kids over there are really awful. And we had people in our grade school that were in their 20s. Some drove to school to the seventh grade. Can you imagine? It was a wild, crazy time, and it was. I was a Catholic altar boy at one point, and I was in private school, so that was quite a shift. And I'm walking around the hallways, and there's these kids. They all look like Greg Allman. Their hair is real long, and they're in their 20s, and they're still in seventh and eighth grade. It was bizarre, man. 1980, and I think the parents were cool with it, or either that, or they were just stoned out of their minds. They didn't care. Taxpayers thought it was great. Uh, that they're getting an education or they're just taking their time or whatever. I was very freaked out by it. I thought it was weird. I didn't understand it then. I don't understand it now. I think now it's a lot more cleaned up, and because who knows? I mean, maybe they're embarrassed. I went to Flood Junior High, and there was nothing like it. And there's fights breaking out all the time. Parents and teachers and kids, just so much confusion. And our faculty would look the other way when something horrible would happen. Thank God I didn't get pounced on. I was about 60 pounds, 65 pounds, maybe tops, wet, soaking wet. And I had these big owl glasses, and I'm lucky I didn't get killed over there because there were some really dangerous people over there. Anyway, um, why I'm telling you this is that my stepfather, not stepfather, my mother's husband, raised what I just said. Mother's husband was a very he was a drunk, and he was mentally cruel and abusive, and he had a violent tendency. He collected guns, and he also never had a kind word for us. We were there long enough until I graduated high school, and we finally moved back to Ann Arbor, and I kind of thought that that was going to end uh, the the circus, so to speak. But because I'm leaving a lot of negative stuff out of here, and I might go into it a little deeper down the road. But there was the whole idea of going into college was funny. I'm the first generation college in my family, so I was encouraged to go, and I think the idea was that Ted's never going to finish it. He's not college material or whatever. Um, I got a lot of flack from friends that I made, and I went to Eastern Michigan University. I went to art school. I graduated with BFA in film, graphic design, and telecommunications. And all my U of M buddies were like law students. They wanted government jobs, and they wanted I don't even know what they do. I don't even talk to those people that much at all. Really, kind of lost touch. Um, and of course, you had the medical school, right? Uh, University buildings and cancer hospitals are the main businesses in Detroit and this part of the state, Oakland County. Anyway, it doesn't really resonate with me. I went to Chicago after graduation, got involved with corporate America, and my bosses at the Sears Tower. I used to work for a big six firm. very negative environment. They always told me you had to have a really thick skin, which basically meant they were not gonna manage. And the coworkers could talk to each other any way they could. And they would say the most cruelest, most rotten stuff to each other, including me. I was very depressed. I just lost my grandparents. They were like my real parents in a sense. They really loved me and took care of me. But now they were gone, and my coworkers were awful. And I used to go bar hopping with them, and it just led to depression. It was a really, really horrible time. I also did another stupid thing. Then, if I could change it, I would, but it's too late. I stole my best friend's girlfriend from college, and we ended up living together in Chicago. Terrible. I don't recommend doing that, but the karmic forces that came from that were really negative. And you know, I started getting like I developed like an ulcer. I had chest pains. I hated my job. Sunday nights, I used to have heart palpitations. I had to go back to this rotten life that I created for myself. Every self-help guy has a sob story. This is my sob story. It's a little long-winded, but I went to New York after that just to get away from it all. My dad drove me out there in his big U-Haul, and I started my life all over again, which I thought was a great idea. I ended up working in New York City, got a job with a company there, and for a while it was quiet. It was okay. It was okay. Did some stints with Capitol Records, um, Young and Rubicam, Foot Conan Belding, Coca-Cola, Budweiser, Star Wars. Did a stuff with WWE, the wrestling group, and NBC. So life was pretty good. I spent the money as soon as I got it. It was a wild time. I blew it all on rock and roll tickets and just crazy stuff, man. I just I lived like there was no tomorrow. I wasn't in church. I didn't have a guidance to kind of stick with. I just lived a really wild and rebellious life, which is something that you really should not do. But I did this. So anyway, 911 happened, and I ended up coming back, and my life was upside down. .com industry was awful. It crashed. Search engines weren't really real then, like they are today. So I lost everything, and I had to kind of figure out what I was going to do. And I didn't really know. I floundered for a while, and my life was up and down. It was just up and down like a roller coaster. I felt like I said, destiny's football, which is something you don't want to do. You want to have a plan and a direction. Well, what can I say? I ended up in Metro Detroit. My father passed away in 2007. So here I am trying to figure everything out. And, you know, Clement Stone says this. He says, like, for every major catastrophe in your life, there's a seed in there for greatness. And if you would have told me that then, I would have like, yeah, all right, get lost. It's true though, because I spent that time trying to figure out what was going on. I wanted a spiritual coach. That's how I found Prashant Sapori. He's part of the program. And he taught me meditation and Kundalini, which I thought was, crazy. I was studying culture from India. And I also started collecting books on spirituality, even though I didn't know what I was doing. When we had Borders Bookstore in Ann Arbor and Novi, I was buying books on quantum healing and quantum physics, even though I knew nothing about it, and looking for miracles. And now I look at my collection of books now, I was like, okay, wow, I was way ahead of my time. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just knew I was desperate for an answer. I wanted my life to change. And I'm a Christian guy, right? Obviously, altar boy and all that. I will say one thing about that. They said, well, why don't you just go to the church and just go talk to a priest or go talk to, somebody. And I did. But when you got situations like bad news and you're trying to better yourself, you're going to get a story. I'm just going to paraphrase and do a little role play. The priest might say, don't forget what happened to Abraham and Sarah. She was 90 years old and she had a baby, right? Yeah, think positive. Okay, listen, I got to go. I got to do a wedding. Best of luck to you. See you at mass on Sunday. That's a terrible impression, but go here for a second with me. And I realized that it didn't matter. I got some sort of stuff inside of me that needs to get either erased or replaced and just take it out. When I decided to do that, that's when things started to happen. I did buy some Tony Robbins stuff. That was pretty cool. He's got that line in there that says, well, um, you'll do more to avoid pain than you will to gain pleasure. Kind of cryptic, right? Played it over and over again. Didn't really resonate with me. What's pleasurable about Oakland County after you've done everything? Baseball games, punk rock concerts, St. Andrews Hall, Greektown. There's only so much you can do there, like the fun stuff, sporting events and rock and roll shows and Ford Field. And, I mean, I did everything. But when you look at a town like Detroit and even Southfield, these are the places that the skyline has not changed in 75 years. We kind of chase off new ideas. We had a film industry coming to Detroit, which I was really excited about. I really thought I was going to get involved with film production and stuff. But our governors, our administration, we pushed it out. We didn't want it. Chicago does it. They do a great job. I was over here now. So I didn't get excited about that. So what's pleasurable? Like, you'll do more to avoid pain than you will to gain pleasure. I tried a bunch of stuff, and it just wasn't gelling. It wasn't working. So finally, I kind of I'm going to cut out some chapters here because I'm going to get right to the point, and I appreciate your patience. I started to really think about getting rid of some of the negative conditionings that I had in my brain. Who put them there? And I allowed it to happen because I trusted these people. They were my elders, and or colleagues or coworkers or professors or classmates or whatever. And I let them friends. I let them shape who I was to a point where I was miserable. I think the most miserable people on earth are the ones that say yes to everybody and that people please. I'm living proof of that. So I decided one day they just have to go. And I started to study this stuff, the subconscious mind. I'm going to go into deeper detail, probably on a case by case basis, if you're interested, and we can get rid of your stuff too. What started to happen though was what I call the Edison mind, the Thomas Edison mind, where I could go to sleep, or I'm sorry, I could meditate, give my subconscious mind a problem, go to sleep, wake up, and there'd be a solution. And I started writing my stuff down. I started recording it, and I check it later because after you fully wake up, that dream consciousness energy is gone, and you're going to forget it. You could sit there and say, well, when I wake up in the morning, I'll take notes. But right now, I'm too sleepy. You got to condition yourself to get up, write it down, whatever it was, and look at it later. It'll blow your mind, the kind of stuff that came out. I was on after day 22 of my subconscious mind cleanse. I was given this instruction that, and it was so profound. And it's that most people that are living a day-to-day struggle, could be anything, a job they hate, a relationship they don't like. There's some form of unhappiness. Most people are actually at war with themselves, whether it be an old idea, somebody planted a seed in them that was not good. They're carrying around an old set of instructions that basically cause them misery. And that was really insightful. I wrote that down. And also somebody told me in a dream that I was in a business now of turning on inspiration in other people. You remember ET, like turn on your heart light thing, right? It's like remember E.T. back Steven Spielberg, right? He was kind of interesting guy, but uh, it's true. And I think that's kind of where my business kind of started going into. I started taking an interest in that. There's a lot of truth to it. Side note, that song "Turn On Your Heart Light" by Neil Diamond, he was sued by Spielberg for $25,000. I read that and it's crazy, but I just thought I just before I forget, I'll just tell you. Um, I started getting answers from the other side. Um, Now, sometimes this happens to people when they've been in traumatic car accidents. They actually activate a different part of their mind they didn't know existed, and they get like downloads from the universal mind, business ideas, or whatever, or a book inspiration. They'll become authors. I didn't want nothing dramatic like that to happen to me. I want it to happen naturally. So I got some case studies later. We'll talk about those kind of people. They're really interesting. I just don't want to be, I don't want to get into a head on car accident and then have inspiration from above. I want to actually do it naturally and as painlessly as possible. So we are kind of like, what was this? We are kind of like cause and effect, right? Cause and effect. Where are we at here, time wise? I think I'm at, where is it? Now I don't know where I'm at. Um, huh, where is it? Oh, okay, we're still going. All right. Uh, I'd like to find out what's the number. All right, I'll figure it out. So, cause and effect. Let me tell you how it works when you start getting things tuned up. I was at a place where I was in a mall and I saw a Willy Wonka suit. I loved Willy Wonka. I thought he was a great character. Gene Wilder, I was a big fan. And I saw this suit and I recognized it immediately. It was in a window display and it was at the North, what was it? Oakland. No, I'm sorry. Uh, Novi, 12 Oaks Mall, 12 Oaks Mall in Novi, Michigan. And it was Willy Wonka suit, purple coattails, top hat, baggy trousers with stripes, and not exactly from the film, but I recognized what it was when I saw it. It just screamed, you know, Roald Dahl, Willy Wonka. And the Detroit Opera House was putting on this play, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It was a musical. I wanted to go. It might have been just a contest for the kids. I don't know. But there was a sign and it said, take a picture, in front of this thing, put tag it to Instagram, and you can win 4 tickets. And I said, well, let me try it. Um, if anybody wants to go, it's me. And I thought, well, I'll probably never go, but I'll do it. So I did. And I tagged it and I sent it to Instagram. And then I did a funny thing after that. I don't know why, but I did. I I went to there was a Starbucks right in the middle of the mall, and I went there. And I got a gigantic chocolate frappuccino like this, like a $7 thing, iced cappuccino chocolate chip mint or whatever it was. And just to get into the spirit of things, I got a chocolate drink. Willy Wonka, he makes chocolate. Hello, you know, cause and effect. Didn't realize what I was doing, but I was sending out a mental signal out to the universe, like satellites and stars and planets are all talking to each other. There's Ted Cantu. We're gonna give him some tickets over here. Let's send him down. Okay, special order. And these tickets just came from like the universe. I don't know where they came from, but they came. Sunday, nothing happened. But that Monday, I got an email and it said the Detroit Opera House had my name on it, Ted Cantu, and it said um, Broadway in Detroit. And I don't know who that account is. And it said, Mr. Cantu, you won 4 tickets to go see Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the musical. 4 tickets for the Detroit Opera House. Wow. So I took a friend of mine and his daughter. She's 12. She's a theater major. I thought they would really enjoy it. And of course, I took my mother because she would like that too. And it was an amazing play. And I thought that was a really cool experience. And out of all the people that were in that thing, it was sold out. I actually got the tickets. I got them for free because I had belief in my heart that I would win, number one. And I really thought, uh, if anybody deserves to win, it's me. I don't think there's anybody else in the world that wants to go as much as I do. I really believe that. And there was no in my heart. I knew I wanted to get in. I was going to get in no matter what. So that's crazy. And then I got these tickets. So that's one example. And cause and effect. Why did it work? I wanted to go, but I took the extra step to get a chocolate drink, right? To kind of seal the deal. Um, that was considered works, right? Faith without works is dead. You ever hear that? That's from the gospel. You can have ideas all day long, but unless you take that first step, they're talking about PMA, right? Positive mental attitude, like we just talked about. Or I could have did a negative mindset attitude and said, "Oh, I'll never win. That's for other people." But at least I applied. People talk to themselves that way, and they bring on the most horrible situations among themselves. And I think that's a really great story. So that's story number one. And story number two was about my girlfriend Leanne is in here. She's in my notes, and she's in there. So, you know, when I met her in person, I didn't know if I'd ever see her again. And that's really, really weird how that happened. Didn't know I'd ever see her again. But in my mind, I thought, well, I'm not going to say goodbye. I'm going to just leave it open. And never knowing what's going to happen, she showed up down the road because I um I had asked her out. And that's a funny story. And I didn't have a car, didn't have a job, didn't have. I'm a kid. I'm 16 years old, 15 or 16. I didn't have any of that stuff. I didn't have a license. And even if I did, my parents wouldn't let me drive anyway. Uh, on the turnpike, but those crazy East Coast drivers, man, they scare me now. And I'm an adult, but I imagine as a kid, that would be unthinkable. It just wouldn't happen. So, but I planted a seed. I took a shot, and I never forgot her. I didn't close it off, and it took years and decades for that to happen. And finally, it happened, and she showed up, and I was not. I didn't know that would ever happen. But that was like the weirdest thing because when I finally connected with her, our lives were, we really connected. We really meshed well together. We complemented each other so well in the beginning. It was almost scary. I never really had a relationship like that ever. Uh, it was, she was definitely from another, she was sent to me. Our timing was right. And, but it was because of that. So and effect, cause and effect. One of the things that you're going to learn about in the Hermetic laws of the Kabbalion, if I'm pronouncing that right, I'm going to slaughter all the pronunciation because I don't have people to talk about this stuff with me. They think I'm from another world, but I collect the books and I'm like that. So I apologize if I'm not pronouncing it the right way. And I had the tendency to do that. So, yeah, the book's not in front of me right now. So anyway, is it? No, 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 no. Okay. Well, anyway, cause and effect. These are the things that you need to be aware of when you start to manifest things. Is your life's not a random event. You're co-creating all the time, all the time. Energy can only go one way, either positive or negative, either moving towards something or you're moving away from something. I talked a little bit about that cork thing where you put a needle on it. You put a needle on a cork, and I'm sorry, right over here, over here, over here. Okay, so you put a needle on a cork and take a piece of tinfoil and you put it on there. With your mind, you can change that direction of the center of the that propeller Reynolds wrap. Sounds crazy. A funny story. I walked into the wine store and the lady says to me, "Hi, can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd like a wine cork." She's got all this expensive wine, like $80 bottles of wine, $120 bottles of wine. What do you want? I want a wine cork. Is it for a preschool project? Because there's like a lot of parents and stuff shopping this place. And I look like a dad. And I said, "Oh no, I'm from Muskegon, so we tell the truth a lot, even though it's embarrassing." And I said something like, "Oh no, man, I'm taking this wine cork, I'm gonna take it home, and I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna stick a needle in it, right? I'm gonna grab a piece of tinfoil, I'm gonna put it on, and I'm gonna control it with my mind, man. That's what I'm gonna do." And the woman looked at me like I had brain damage. she just, I think she just gave it to me just to get rid of me, and that was what happened. So it works though, and I got that from a book from the 1950s about mental energy, and that book's probably out of print. I had it. It was at my old girlfriend's house. It's probably still in the basement somewhere, and I don't know if I'll ever find it again. I went to the Mayflower bookshop and talked to my friend Robert Tibbet, who collects all this stuff. He's got an amazing store in Berkeley. If you've ever been there, the Mayflower bookstore has everything in there. A lot of outdated books, a lot of stuff that was out of print, and he didn't know about it, which is really funny. So what I'm telling you is this: when you read all this cool stuff, you collect it like the way I do, you're gonna notice that you got to connect your own dots. But mental energy, yeah, it's real. Just be aware of it, take care of it, and it's a very sensitive thing. And if you're calling in your own bad energy, probably because you didn't clean up. There's something missing. You didn't clean up something. And sometimes it's not. It, prayer is a request, right? And it can happen. It can pass. It can manifest. That's fine. Some people, that's all they do. But if you get some sort of a block in your subconscious that's resisting or pushing something away because your core belief is you don't believe in it, that it can happen or it cannot happen, you'll damage yourself. I had this girl I used to work with at the WWE. I'll never forget her. She was always coming in with like she always had like the worst luck, like just crazy stuff. Like, oh, my house caught on fire last week and I lost my, you know, computer. And oh, okay, well, sorry. And then next weekend, yeah, my cat got run over by a car and whatever. Or and then she come back and said, my boyfriend got beat up and put in jail, and I gotta come up with $2,000. Is there any way you can spend, some money on me? I can get my boyfriend out of prison or whatever. And I was like, God, like, got tired of listening to her after a while. And finally, what I told her was, see, when you live in the East Coast, there's no filter over your mouth. Sometimes just stuff just spills out. And I wish I hadn't said it, but here's what I said. I said, "Are you a good person?" I just got tired of hearing about it, man. I got my own stuff to worry about, right? I said, "Are you a good person?" And her eyes got real big. She was like Mr. Magoo. She's like, I'm kind of scared. And I'm like, yeah, man, are you a good person? I mean, like, it's not normal to have problem after problem after problem after problem after problem. I get tired of listening to it. Sorry, I'm human, but take some personal inventory and take some responsibility that if you've got one catastrophe after another, your life is like the book of Job. Take a look at it, man, because chances are you're probably missing something. There's something going on there. So um, that's really, really important to look at. And are we stuck in life? Are we stuck in life? There's a lot of ways you can get stuck. Rock and roll, man. Those guys don't change. And they live reckless. Their diets are horrible. They drink tons of booze and do pot and whatever else. They wreck their minds. And when they bottom out and go off this mortal coil, here's what you hear. Wow, man, cancer's a bitch. These guys are like in their 60s, early 60s. Cancer's a bitch, man. Well, you're surrounded by what you create. The words of Shapiro, the guy who was the manager for Andy Kaufman, the comedian from Taxi. I love that line. You're surrounded by what you create, right? So it's important to watch out what you do. Rock and roll is like that. Sports, if you're a sports guy, you just go out, just go out, just go out, and wow, man, yeah, I've seen people just party out and just drop dead. Uh, you can do it with food. My dad had a neighbor, and all he would do was eat prime rib all the time, like weekends. Poor guy. His cholesterol was awful. He's probably diabetic. He was a big guy, and one day he just dropped dead. My dad was friends with him. He lived across the street. Nice guy. I liked him, but the thing was, he just didn't take care of himself. He got into this loop that was just destructive. It was a cycle, and you can do that. Corporate culture is the same way. Golly, I can't do some of that stuff. Early morning breakfast meetings. We all got to think like the group. We all got to do things as a group. We all got to do this. We all got to think the same way. Sometimes politically, right? We got to think the same way. And when I got in there, I didn't like it because I'm a free thinking guy. I can call my own shots. And I got pulled aside so many times and said, Mr. Cantu, we got a problem with you. We got a real problem with you. We got to sit down. We got to, we're not comfortable. We just, we don't think like, you're not thinking like the group. You're doing stuff on your own. We're not comfortable with the direction with the books you read or whatever. I mean, it could be anything. And I got pulled into so many HR departments and to be straightened out that it turned me off, and I didn't want to do it anymore. I started my own company, so that's the best way to be. I'm a free thinking person. You can't buy me. I just I'm a voracious reader. Not going to stop. Not going to stop learning, and I'm not going to stop implementing new stuff. I don't want to be like this guy. Let me tell you about this guy I read about a long time ago when I was in college. There was somebody, I don't know if it was Baudelaire who wrote about it or Voltaire or somebody. There was an old story about this guy who did whatever he was told to do. He did whatever he was told to do. And his wife told him what to do, and everyone told him what to do. And he got old. And end of the book, he goes into a wooden shack, shuts the door, and screams for like 9 days nonstop because he realized his whole life he didn't live for himself. That freaked me out. I was about 22 years old when I heard that story. And what he does is after he gets done screaming, he dies. That's it. No upside, no happy ending, no nothing. That's just it. So I don't want to be that guy. Okay. And I hopefully you don't want to be that guy either. That's why you're listening to me. And so, you got to tune certain things out. Don't be afraid to let go of people too, even family members. They're going to hold you back and just hold you back and just they deliver no upside. Don't be afraid to let people go. Don't be afraid to say no to people, right? Don't be such a people pleaser. And I got to the point now where I just can't do it. So the other thing too, I can really tell you is to eliminate anger and angry people. Wow. Now that's from Proverbs. I had clients that I had to let go of just because they were so angry and they were cursing and cussing. You see this a lot in the automotive industry. Those guys are filthy, man, a lot of them, and they don't know how to talk. And I'm a guy, I lived in New York, I worked in Brooklyn, I've been around, I was in Chicago, lived in the south side of Chicago, actually. And these people were unbelievable. They were so foul that the energy was just so rank. I didn't feel like going to work with them. They didn't bring any inspiration. I got nothing out of it outside of a paycheck. And I left. Now, one particular group I worked with in automotive, they were the CEO was faced with tragedy beyond belief. He was the most foul-mouthed guy I probably ever met. He ended up losing his company. Yeah. Wife divorced him. Terrible. And his son didn't bother anybody. He was a real scrawny kid. He used to get beat to a pulp by bullies. Poor kid. I actually offered advice and friendship to a friend of mine as a colleague. He's a judo instructor, to come in and give his kids some free lessons. I was going to pay for him, and he turned me down. The guy lost his company, and to this day, he's got a desk job working for some other automotive group. I actually blocked him. I don't need that kind of negativity. But what I'm saying to you is that when you allow angry people in there and you partake in that space, that mental space, there's it's gonna it's not going to just affect you. It's going to affect other people in your family too, right? It's going to affect innocent people and make their lives terrible. Start studying energy. This gets really, really dicey and really interesting. Generational curses. I don't have time to go into that right now. Eventually, we probably should just do a whole show on that. Really, really interesting. You want to manifest anything. This is probably the end of my notes for subconscious mind. Is you want to unclutter your surroundings, unclutter and clean up stuff, so you can focus and have one focus in one direction to go in there and just narrowly attack your problems. There was that. There's a passage in there that the devil likes confusion. He likes things to be tangled up and messy and clutter. He thrives in confusion. And he was only sent here to do three things. That was, you know, to kill, to steal, and to destroy, and that's it. And you say, well, I'm not a Bible guy, so, well, listen. What's good in your life? Is it getting destroyed? What's destroying it? What's destroying your relationships? What's who's stealing your joy? You're not a joyful person by nature. Why is that? Look at it. Unless you want some sort of psychosomatic illness like psychocybernetics, Dr. Maxwell will tell you about that, and it'll materialize in some other way. Tumor, illness. I mean, oh man, it's unbelievable. Clean out stuff, live clean. Same thing with your thoughts, and also the vehicles you drive. I got stories about that too, and you want to unclutter as much as you can. That's a really cool technique in the Book of Prosperity. I want to say it's what was her name? Catherine Ponder. I got it somewhere. It's a white book. Everyone in my circle has read it, and you can live by it. But that was one of the techniques, was to clean out stuff so that things can manifest in the proper way. Okay, that's it for now. That's I can't call this a TED Talk legally, but it it was right. I'm Ted Cantu, so but it was a TED Talk in a sense. I'm recording all my stuff because when I get on the phone and start consulting with people, it's hard because I got to go like 40 different people, and I say the same things over and over again. My vocal cords will go out, and that's not a very good feeling. It stops. It's like you can't talk. Like, I've done it. I don't want to do it again. I've done it. Did you know that? Some of you guys that drive might not know this either. When I was in Chicago, I used to walk everywhere. I used to walk from my apartment by Lake Michigan, and I'd walk all the way down to Navy Pier, and I'd walk all over Lincoln Park, and that's a huge, huge walk right on the water. My feet gave out. It happened another time when I was in Soho, New York. My feet, I mean, it's because I got flat feet. I don't know, weak ankles, but I didn't have the muscle power to pull my feet off the sidewalk because they just gave out. They just stopped working. And I really thought I'd have to call an ambulance. I got kind of scared down there because, man, oh man, I did some prayers and I don't know how I got in that situation, but I was able to get myself moving again. So, wow, live and learn, right? These are wild things. So that's the subconscious mind. That's day one. We're going to bring in our people. I'm going to record stuff too, and there's going to be some live sections where we do Q&A. What I suggest right now is I got to come up with a workbook. I keep talking about putting a workbook together because you need to see it on paper and how it can affect you and how you can make some changes. So I got to do that. If you're in our Facebook private group or a public group, you'll see this stuff, and we'll make sure we take care of it. And I can get your email address, or you can contact me through Messenger. That's fine too. My email is tedcantu@gmail.com. My phone number is 248-277-6141. We'll throw it up on the screen. My company's called The Win, and you could always find me at tedcantu.com. If you want the search engine stuff, you can always go tedcantu.com/index.html. Okay, that's all. That's my time. And we're going to put these guys back on. I think that's what we're going to do. And there we go. Little Van Halen. You rock and roll fans out there, I just heard today that actually Sammy Davis Jr. Sammy Hagar is actually going to regroup the founding members of Van Halen. Going to try to put on a tour next year as a tribute to Eddie Van Halen, who passed away 3 years ago. And that should be pretty cool. So Michael Anthony, David Lee Roth was invited, and I really hope he shows up. That'd be really cool. And Sammy was a good sport about it. I was never a big Sammy guy, but I admire that he's doing that, because Wolf, the son of Eddie, he doesn't want to be in a tour or a tribute tour, which I think is really disrespectful. Anyway, enough of me. Thanks for tuning in. And this is the Think Tank right here. And I'm looking for some really great stories from you guys. Any challenges at all that you want to erase or you want to fix, please contact me and we'll get to work. We'll do it. We'll figure it out. We'll get you going. One last thing I want to leave you with. I'm starting to get people I want to work with within 3 minutes. I'm starting to find people I want to work with, and I'll send an email out. I'll introduce myself. Next thing I know, I'm getting response from people in 3 minutes without no postage, no social media stuff, no ad buying. And I'm looking at this now in a very unique way. Subconscious mind has to be cleaned out. Whatever trauma you went through, whatever stuff that you had go on in your life needs to be cleaned up, and you got to have good energy. So, like I always say, you got a problem, we're going to knock it out, okay, together, right? You, me, together. That's what we do. All right, I'm Ted Cantu, and until next time, take care. See you on day 2. Day 2 is coming up. We'll do that, and be in touch. Okay, all right, cheers. In fact,